afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you happen to be, anywhere on planet Terra. My name is Scott Schertzen, alongside Mr. Ryan O'Regan, Mr. JT McGuire, and Mr. Robert Leckington, and welcome to Tales from the Film Set on Spanglish Sports World and Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. Both apps are free. Make sure to rate and leave a comment. Can't beat the price on it, by the way. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire Sticks, Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Now that we got that out of the way, and all the legal stuff we had to do, gentlemen, how you doing?
I don't know what the weather's like here in Jersey, but I'm afraid to go outside.
Why?
Right now, I think it's like
because one day it's sunny, the other day it's rainy. It's like I don't know what to expect. It makes me nervous.
It's supposed to snow in a couple days.
No,
no, I'm just joking.
Or is it?
Is it supposed to snow? I don't know.
Rob, I'm a large man. You can't do this to my blood pressure.
Hey, that's what
Gentlemen, we got a lot of good stuff to cover tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about the new Apple TV series Severance, up to which Ben Stiller once yelled at me for having my phone out.
How dare you?
I know, it was a long story on that. We'll get into that one at some point. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit about Francis Ford Coppola spending $120 million of his own money on a passion project, because when you're Francis Ford Coppola, $120 million may not necessarily count as money. And, of course, we are going to be going into the new Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon, a divisive series, I guess, to say the least, whose budget now has actually exceeded the gross domestic product of several countries in third world nations. So
that otherwise known as Amazon money.
No, really. Will that actually be the first flop that will Amazon have a flop here? It's a question that we're going to have to discuss and go into more detail on. I do have some theories on that, but I figure let me start this off. If you guys have anything you want to go into first, if you guys have anything you want to cover, and of course the open invite, if anybody can tell me what that gaming system is behind me, I will be extremely impressed with all of you.
Well, for me, that gaming system looks like 2 centimeters from where I'm at, so I cannot tell.
Okay.
Do you want to grab it and bring it closer to the camera for us to guess?
Perhaps I will. It is actually unplugged. I can do that.
Yeah, well, we have zooms, but not good enough zooms to go in that deep.
I got this need to stub my toe.
Stubbing your toe, stubbing your toe.
What on? Wait,
is something I've never seen.
No.
You know,
I gotta say I've never seen it.
This is a Vectrex from GCE that came out in 1983. It is a fully enclosed, self-contained unit.
Does that have a network
has
connection?
A game recording built into it.
I doubt it does.
It does. Actually, no. It actually comes automatically with a game directly attached to it, so it does not require a cartridge to get the game Mindstorm. So,
does it have
plug it out of storage? Put that up there, and in the process, borderline broke my toe to show that to you.
Nice. One thing I would want to touch on before everything else, I wanted to give a shout out.
Please talk right now. Please go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Mr. Tom Holland, who apparently was in New Jersey just this past week, over in South Orange for the premiere, a special screening of Uncharted, which is now #1 movie in the world. And primarily, Tom Holland is saving the movie industry all on his back at this point. So more credit to the kid than I could ever think of giving. You know, you don't think of like many actors being so accomplished so young, but man, he's killing.
The filmmaker in me, and it wants to say congratulations, and I shall. The part of me who, even though has never played Uncharted, but knows what the main character looks like, don't know if I like that casting that much.
Well, to be fair, this was kind of like a prequel in a sense. And it's actually reflective of one of the games, not the very first game, obviously, but it is reflective of the games where you see like his mentor and how he's brought up and everything. So in a sense, from a cinematic standpoint, you probably start there rather than make someone like Mark Wahlberg as the lead character. Because
which, by the way, even he was kind of miscast because his character is supposed to be incredibly old in the games, white hair and out of shape.
Yes, but that was back when those games were made. That was what people thought was old. Now, Mark Wahlberg is what we think of as old now. So we can only hope that, when we get to our 50s, most of us, that we all look that good.
Dude, he is 50 years old.
Good job.
He's old. He's old as crap.
I don't even want to mention my age.
Marky Mark now in the Funky Bunch. That's all.
Well, we're all in our 40s and 30s, right?
Yeah. And
so
So, but no, I mean, we would be so lucky to look like that at 50, or possibly even now, for that matter.
Well, that's not my point, but yes, I agree.
But in this case, you want to talk about these characters being poorly cast, but at the end of the day, still marketable, still profitable, and it still worked on all fronts.
It was marketable. Yeah. I'm always kind of shocked with some of these things, though, because I don't think it got the best reviews. It got like maybe 6 out of 10 mixed. On 6 out of 10 is usually mixed on Internet Movie Database. I don't know what it was on Rotten Tomatoes, though. I usually avoid them to a degree.
I think it's one of those things where it's obviously worse on the critics' end than it is on the fans' end. I think the fans probably have it more fresh.
Which is funny, because if you ever notice that a lot of times with commercials, they don't always talk so much about what the critics are saying, but what the audience score is saying. I pulled it up right now. The critics are giving it a 40%. The audience is giving it 90%.
Nice.
Quite the divide.
Wow.
50% difference.
Which means that basically the movie is actually good and the critics hate it. So,
well, I think that's always the issue with video game movies. You always have like a certain expectation, and whether it's any kind of video game adaptation, you can't necessarily do exactly what the video game does, because then otherwise what's the point of making the movie? You can play the game and get the exact same experience.
Brian Lowry of CNN.com, who is a top critic, by the way, according to Rotten Tomatoes, Uncharted drops towards the wrong end of the chart every time Holland and Wahlberg engage in juvenile bickering, which, alas, is all too often.
To be fair, Mark Wahlberg in juvenile bickering, that's how he's made a movie career.
Yeah, right.
You go to like any clip of Mark Wahlberg, it's always him going a little more Boston than, say, everybody else, intimidating somebody.
Well, that's just his whole persona, though.
I know. That's his De Niroism, basically.
He won't win any awards, but he'll get plenty of roles.
Oh, absolutely.
And possibly in more Transformers movies.
Of course, shout out to those. The obvious me.
But the critics, they always want something more like the Godfather. And speaking of which,
well, the Godfather, they're being the quintessential thing of like, oh, you're the Godfather of this, the Godfather of that. That's the apex.
But the man who actually made the first film, he apparently wants to make a new one. Have you guys heard about this? Obviously, because it is in our line of topics for tonight.
We're not going to get to everything tonight. That's just usually how this is going to go. And I already see it now, but that's fine. Screw it. So,
yes, I'm pushing it this way. So I didn't realize this. I was actually, as we were going into the intro, I brought up this topic, but I didn't realize how much Coppola was actually worth. $3.6 billion.
Whoa! I'm saying 120 isn't really counting his money to the guy.
The man sells a lot of wine.
Change.
I found out that
he's getting that money from Nick Cage.
His nephew's coming through. I'm not going to change the topic. I'm not going to change the topic, but even just to jump a little bit, Dan Aykroyd apparently made like millions upon millions of dollars selling the vodka in the Skull.
It was like all the glass skull head wine or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like JonTron did a video on that.
All these filmmakers are they're like, nah, the films, they're okay, but check out my booze.
Hey, if you're nobody, if you don't have a certain type of alcohol, Drew Barrymore's got a wine. Justin Timberlake's got Sauza. The Rock has his tequila.
Ryan Reynolds has his own gin.
Gin. Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of starting my own beer line.
Go for it.
Oh, really, Rob? Do you have any ideas?
I do.
know what to call it.
Do.
I know what to call it. Go ahead, get lecked.
Nice. I like it.
It could sell.
That's
It could
cool.
sell.
Yes.
I want 20% for the name.
But this man, Francis Ford Coppola, $3.6 billion, has decided to sell some of his assets in order to bring about $120 million for pretty much a passion project. And at the age of 80, I mean, you don't have anything left to lose on there. So obviously, this is the time to make it, if ever. I was gonna say, like, would you just spend $120 million to make a film? But if you had $3.6 billion, yes, you may spend $120 million to make a film.
And he might get it back too, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Apparently
I'm sure he has got like a little bit of money coming back to him on that whole how we made the Godfather movie or series that's being made right now.
The thing of it is, though, is like with Steven Spielberg putting himself out there for the West Side Story and it not doing very well. I'm thinking that like if Francis Ford Coppola was to come up with a film, he better really bring it together. I mean.
Well, apparently this has been something he's been thinking about for 40 years. Unfortunately, he's also been bringing to movie studios for 40 years, and they keep telling him no.
Exactly.
Okay, how bad does it have to be like, all right, I know you did The Godfather, I know you got some stuff, but we're not touching that one.
Well, don't forget, we're talking about Francis Ford Coppola, who has his own viewpoint on the Hollywood blockbuster and comic book movies and how it's ruined the industry. He's one of those naysayers. So more the reason that he's probably making this passion project with his own money, because he probably feels the only way it's ever going to get made is if he does it himself, because the studios are probably too preoccupied with more frivolous ventures.
But even so, though, like the distribution aspect, I mean, we got streaming going on right now. We've got like in theater viewing. It's like, how do you do that?
I think if the man who made Godfather made his own film and then said, "Hey, who wants to watch it?" Someone's gonna go, "We should better get the distribution rights to this thing." I think that's what a lot of TV shows do, and it's why they go after like the reality shows, because once the content is made, everything else is easy. Just some advertising, and if you already have the distribution model, whether it be a streaming service like Netflix or Amazon, or it be a movie theater like Lowe's or Regal, that part's already kind of sold. That's already ready to go.
Okay, but even Steven Spielberg has already had his own, like, if you want to call it a flop. I mean, it's not really a flop. It did really well, but it didn't do well enough.
Not against Spider-Man.
Well, Francis Ford Coppola.
Well,
I mean, who knows?
Well, there's an old saying: how can we know we'll miss you if you don't go away? With Steven Spielberg, he hasn't really gone away. He still makes movies all the time. Before he made West Side Story, he had done Ready Player One, and I think there was another film in between that as well. Also, he had his own Apple TV show, which we were watching.
He had his own TV show in general, Public Morals, for a year.
When's the last time we've seen a film from Francis Ford Coppola?
Yeah.
So it's been a while. And
hold on, checking IMDb.
This film is not only going to have attached the fact that it's been 40 years in the making, but a man was so passionate to make it, was so dead set that he had to make this film that he spent his own money, $120 million on it. Someone's going to want to go, yeah, we got to see this. What?
Yet, here's the other side.
Okay, so the last known movie that he produced, he was executive producer on The Bling Ring back in 2013.
The Bling Ring.
The Bling Ring?
Yeah, and it was one of those, like,
was it Sophie?
California kids are bored, so they start
wait.
people.
Wait. Is it his daughter's film?
Sophia Coppola?
Who's the director?
Oh,
was it
yeah.
Sophie?
Was it a Sophia Coppola thing? Because they tried to keep it
I think that was a Sophia Coppola film.
Yeah, it was a Sophia Coppola directed film, so that's why.
Yeah. I'm not counting it.
If you're going to talk Godfather, you got to talk Godfather 3, because...
Well, yeah. There was talk about Godfather 4, too, but here's the other side of it that I'm looking at. We talked about Scorsese briefly. Now, I looked up the box office numbers for The Irishman. That was in production hell. That was a brutally slow production, and the official budget is anywhere between 159 to 250 million. My belief is it's on the far side of that, towards the 250, because of the amount of reshoots they ended up doing.
And
that
all the
movie
CGI.
And there's de-aging De Niro and Joe Pesci and Entourage. That movie made $8 million at the box office.
Well, remember it was a big seller for what streaming service did it come out on?
That's the thing. It went to Netflix. It went to Netflix, but then disappeared. Nobody cared about it, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, it got some Oscar nods and things like that, but when it came right down to it, it didn't really get a lot of revenue for Netflix either. And they paid stupid amounts of money. They paid $100 million for the rights alone before it came to the budget. That's why you're looking at 159 to 250.
What algorithm does Netflix actually use to determine are they actually looking like, oh, this is how many streams it's actually people watch this?
And also spike in subscription services.
Yeah, to inquire about that, it's like going into the Matrix.
It's probably one of those things that they have the algorithm set up that they know how long your account's been around. So if you sign up, watch The Irishman, and dump the account, they probably look at that as well and how much revenue came that way. They probably made some bank off of it. But again, when you look at something like this and you look at what Coppola is trying to do, spending his own money, he probably doesn't even care about that. He's just like, I got to get this movie done before I die. No regrets in life.
Yeah. And as filmmakers,
geez.
As filmmakers, I think we can all kind of agree to that. We would all have our own passion project that no matter what people thought of it, we would want to make it. And if you had the money, and I ask you, gentlemen, if you had $120 million to shoot on your own passion project, knowing full well that a lot of people will probably not like it, would you make it anyway?
Of course.
If I had $120 million, I'm seeing you guys later. I'm basically going to Maui and getting a daiquiri. It's like later, I'm going back. I'm going to Aruba. I'm going out. You guys are just not going to see me.
Yeah, you want to see my passion project? Meet me in the Bahamas. I'll give you a $10 million Jackass 4. It'll still make bank for you. We'll be good.
Well, this wasn't the point to get, but okay.
If money is no object, is there a movie you'd like to do?
It does remind me though of a quote that old coworker said to me one time. It's like, if I ever won the lottery, this would be the part of the book where it just says, and then we never saw him again.
Rumor has it he's somewhere in Tahiti.
I do see a lot of like that old guard though, really going ahead and doing like the passion projects now while they're in the twilight years. Even Moonfall, that was a passion project of Roland Emmerich's, and it's I think what was it? What was that one?
Independence Day.
That one spacey thing with Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne. What was that movie?
It wouldn't be Independence Day Regurgence or whatever.
No. It was like
Regurgency.
Variant or Valiant or something like that. That was also a bomb, but that was also a passion project. I just think it's one of those things where people want to go ahead and like they've earned their keep. They want to spend the money and make the things that they wanted to do that the studio would say, oh, well, that's not profitable for us. We're not going to go ahead and sling the money that way. Even Nightmare Alley was a passion project of Guillermo del Toro's. That one at least got some distribution because for once he wasn't spending millions of dollars making creatures. It was pretty much just more ambiance.
That's the whole thing. I mean, being able to make your own film and do it the way you want to versus how say the MGM saying you got to make it this way. No, I can make it this way because I'm spending my own money.
Yeah, and we've heard so many stories in the past couple of years about like studio involvement, mucking things up, whether it's Justice League or something else. I think, we've gone to a point where people are going to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm doing it my way. You go ahead and do the things to make yourselves money. It's more the split of the artistry and the business, which has always been something that's been at odds in filmmaking.
But if you look at something like Greatest Showman, Hugh Jackman dropped millions of his own money into that as well. But that movie worked out okay. That movie did make like $500 million at the box office. So it did, even as a passion project, and I know for a fact that was his passion project, it did work out in the end, unlike some of the other passion projects we talked about.
Well, music was catchy, so that helped.
Oh God, it was freaking, dude! I was in tears up in the rafters listening to that the first time. You know, when I heard "This Is Me" the first time, I freaking lost it. I don't care. I'll tell you outright, I was in tears.
It's kind of weird though when you do hear about that, where a film is kind of supported by a studio, but then the people making the film have to end up dropping their own cash into that. I remember the story was with Forrest Gump that Zemeckis and Hanks were actually putting money into the film to kind of continue it because the studio didn't want to put any more money into it.
Now, would John Travolta have done that if he got the role as Forrest Gump?
Wait, hold on.
Well, in fairness, we've seen John Travolta's passion project. I don't know about that.
Yeah, he still wants to do part 2 of Battlefield Earth. And I think I told you this, but I saw Battlefield Earth for free as a showing for anyone who bought tickets to the Jackie Chan movie Shanghai Noon. It still kind of wasn't worth the price of admission.
Oh
God, it was
Yeah,
terrible.
you have to wonder if that's the movie that killed it. Like anytime a film company or a studio or something, when the minute they hear passion project, are they thinking John Travolta on stilts? You know, is that the image?
With dreadlocks going after gold.
Well, I think
to spell your name. I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
I think any studio kind of thinks it weighs like the person versus what the film actually is. I think someone just totally ignored whatever John Travolta brought to them, which they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, they just saw, ooh, sci-fi. No, that's not good.
I remember Sean Connery famously, like, I think he skipped over Lord of the Rings, and he was so ticked about and X-Men, and he was so ticked they skipped over those. They went, fine, I'll try this one, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You don't know which one. You don't know.
I still stand by that movie. I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy it.
You know, it's funny because also
I call it an automobile.
He turned down the role of Cybok in Star Trek V too.
Yes.
That went to somebody else. That's why they decided to name like the planet where God supposedly was as Shakari. Shakari. So, because they decided to get him in there somewhere because Shatner was like, I want my Connor.
May you rest, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that poor man who died on a private island.
Yes. Oh, man, let's not forget he did do Highlander too. So
yes. Oh, we didn't add that to our topics? They're trying to make a new Highlander with Henry Cavill.
Yes, I saw that.
I'm for that. I would have preferred Ryan Reynolds back when they were first talking about it, just because we've seen what he can do with a sword as Deadpool. But you know what? After seeing The Witcher, I can get behind it.
Yeah.
He's so hot right now.
He's so hot.
With or without my.
In what way?
Yes.
No.
In the Zoolander way.
Listen, Henry Cavill is man pretty. I can't argue that. But yeah,
you know how JT has a soundboard and everything. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have like a whole soundboard just full of his grunts and groans.
Hang on. I'm going to set this up. Yes, Henry Cavill is a very good-looking man.
You record that, JT?
I did not.
Damn it! You hit a button for that. You had a soundboard. I thought you were going to hit something for that.
I don't have anything for that. You want to try again? I'll see what I got. Go for it again.
With or without mustache, I just think that Henry Cavill is a man pretty dude, and I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that wouldn't mind a Superman with that mustache to take that mustache ride. There.
That works. That works.
Thank you. And now
play mine for that one too.
Wait, yeah, let's see if I could. I had to pull up a different one for his.
I got to come up with a third Cavill.
Yeah. Give us one more just nice little thing about Henry Cavill and how you really feel about him.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
You brought it upon yourself.
Yes, Henry Cavill, you hot. That's all I got right now.
Emotional damn.
Okay, on that note. So, how about those Mets? By the way, this is Tales from the Film Set, where we occasionally actually talk about films that we're tied, film sets that we're tied to. Find us always on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at Tales from the Film Set, and on Twitter at Film Set Tales. Can we possibly, at this point, are you cool with it if we kind of move on from the heavy travel thing?
Yes.
I can't give
Moving
a
on.
Well, speaking of emotional damage and money being wasted, obviously, Amazon Prime's newest passion project
Nice segue, thank you.
could feed a third world country.
Several third world countries, yes.
I'm listening.
Yeah, what was the production budget for this?
600.
Actually,
Well,
should we mention the name first?
Lord of the Rings of Power.
Oh,
Taking place thousands of years before The Hobbit, and showing what Galadriel was like before she was the stoic sage and and elf lord that she was.
nice.
And after 5-6 movies and a lot of acclaim and a best actor or best film award, how much did Amazon decide to throw at this thing?
Right now, it's sitting at 450 million, with estimates going up to 650 million dollars.
Oh,
for season 1.
And what did the fans think after the first trailer?
Actually, I was going to say, do you have something about unyielding rage or something involving pitchforks and fire?
Not yet. I'll have it for next week.
Okay,
Wait.
please work on that. Yeah.
Also, that one.
crickets.
Like
Nice.
a robot cricket.
Wow, that goes on for a while. All right, I'm not using that one
I
again.
think we're good with that one. Thank you. But yeah, it's right now the Rings of Power trailer that was released on YouTube from Amazon Studios itself. When I looked at it last night, was at 99,000 likes, but 106,000 dislikes. And
Now,
that good.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan. I saw the original in theaters and I thought it was amazing on the big screen, and then I realized it was 3 hours long once I watched it again on VHS.
And that's not the extended cut.
The uncut
So,
version.
but I know like the fans are really passionate about the Lord of the Rings, as most fandoms are. Why are they hating on this? Or do they just not like Jeff Bezos? Or is there something about this film or this TV show that doesn't follow their
rewriting
fandom?
characters, and they're changing the lore to fit what they're trying to promote. And that's where the
But
issue
now,
really
changing
comes down.
characters-wise, are we simply talking gender swapping or race swapping, or are we actually changing core characteristics of who these characters are?
Yes, and yes.
Well, I'm out. I got nothing.
So yeah, the big issue that most fans have more than anything else is the fact that Galadriel is front and center, and there was very explicit. If you ever read Tolkien, he is very, very, very detailed, and they had everything broken down. The Two Towers was a grind that I had. The first and third wasn't terrible. The first and second was, but one of the things about it is he was very, very clear in all of his writing exactly how it was. And they kind of basically what Amazon was able to do is legally circumvent that to recreate certain things and not ultimately get sued by Tolkien's estate. Now, keep in mind that the Tolkien family hated the Peter Jackson version too. So let's start there. They hated the Peter Jackson one. They said it did not do justice to what our father wrote. So they're not.
Which, of course, Peter Jackson stuff. He even added things that weren't in the original books.
Well, I'm not talking Hobbit. Forget Hobbit for a second because that was brutal. But I'm talking Lord of the Rings. Christopher Tolkien, who basically took care of his father's estate, said, "My father and myself, I hated that trilogy. My father would hate it even more than I did. Because of how much it changed certain things." So what they've actually done is they've rewritten characters based on what they're legally allowed to change according to whatever they're trying to go with. And that's where the fans have problems. The personality of Galadriel has been changed, which irks them royally. They're leaving out certain key, stories like the fact that Galadriel was married at that point. The whole thing about the black dwarves obviously is irking a lot of people here because dwarves have beards. This one does not. So believe it or not, they're losing their mind over the fact that female dwarves do not have beards. Don't piss off your fan base. But here is where I'm going to go into this a little more detail. And this is one of the things that nobody's talking about. I looked this up on IMDb this morning to prep for this. There's 2 specific showrunners on there. Do you know how many writing credits those guys have, not counting Lord of the Rings?
I'm going to
Nay.
guess very few.
2.
One each. The third Star Trek
Mm.
movie as an uncredited. And they got the reins of this $500 million project.
When you say third Star Trek, do you mean of the Beyond?
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond. Yeah, that one they have uncredited writers on there. And this is something that, like I said, they handed the reins off to people that frankly have. And I looked up my own IMDb this morning. I have 73 total IMDb credits. And at my high point, I was maybe a Z-list celebrity. Maybe. And that's pushing it. I have 10 times the amount of full credits that both of these guys do combined. And they have a $500 million Amazon TV series.
That's who you know, brother.
Who do you know? But also you have to worry a little bit about the maybe potential lack of experience.
That's true.
Well, that's what happens when you put people in charge who don't know how to actually run a film organization.
Yeah. You know, this is the same issue that I found with the Animaniacs reboot. There's five writers on the Animaniacs reboot that came out. 3 of them have less than 2 IMDb credits when it came to writing before Animaniacs. One of them had never written anything before, and they took over a storied franchise.
Can you really like go by somebody's history by their IMDb credits? Really, I mean, there's a lot of actors that I know of that don't really have a lot of credits that may have that have worked in a lot more projects that are already on.
But would you trust them with a $500 million franchise that's been, basically that has lore that's been around for decades?
Well, obviously Amazon did. The question is, I wonder if there was something else. Did they show a proof of concept? Did they what? They obviously had to do something that had sold them as the people that had this $500 million show.
Here's the thing. I don't know. But all I'm saying is it's very odd. And it's becoming an increasing trend I've noticed in Hollywood lately, where they're turning over writing credit. You saw it with Doctor Who. Chris Chibnall brought in a lot of people who never really wrote much at all. And what they did write was stuff that a lot of times wasn't even related to sci-fi or especially Doctor Who. And that's where a lot of my concern is. It's becoming an increasing habit within Hollywood where you have these people that are frankly a little bit green, maybe a little too green, trying to take over storied franchises and the fans are not happy with.
Well,
yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I kind of agree to that.
Maybe they're trying to give people a try to maybe stimulate some kind of whatever.
Well, yeah, there is something to be said for like the overall growing industry. I mean, because of all the networks, because of all the competition, because of all the stuff even overseas that's now playing into the American market, there's just so much going on that you gotta tap some new talent. Now, yes, I can understand Scott's apprehension about, okay, that's fine bringing in some new blood. This is some very new blood. This is like 5-year-old new blood. But you have to also think about the devil's advocate side of that. Like JT said, there must have been something. There must have been something that they came up with, especially considering this is all prequel work. So, I mean, they have a lot of room to play with where they don't necessarily need to overlap and redo any of the things that were done by the Peter Jackson movies. There must be something there intriguing.
Though Young Hercules, this is not in terms of a prequel. It's not going to be stuck on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. It's going to be front and center in the franchise.
Leave Ryan Gosling alone, all right?
But
there's a reason his name is above me.
I'm still amazed by that fact that that's where he started. But anyway, I don't know.
I'm also going to give Amazon a little bit of credit because they have shown that they can do high fantasy rather well. I mean, The Wheel of Time, which just premiered recently, that's done very well. Legend of Vox Machina, they've been able to really play off of what Critical Role's been able to bring. So I can at least say that Amazon, while they may be doing a lot of fantasy stuff recently, they haven't been sucking at it.
Though then again, The Tick only lasted 2 seasons.
The Tick had internal problems anyway.
Yeah.
But still, critically acclaimed over the other live action Tick that we got.
Now, keep in mind, Vox, say it again. Sorry.
The Legend of Vox Machina.
Thank you. I looked at.
Is that an Amazon?
That's Amazon.
I didn't realize that. No.
Just finished up season 1 last week.
Sorry, Scott, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I'm looking at the IMDb, literally the first writer that I pulled up on that, Vox Machina. He also wrote Blade Runner, 9 episodes of Star Wars Resistance, Transformers Cyberverse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the CGI one that was on Nickelodeon a few years ago. He wrote 26 episodes of that. Hulk and the Agents of Smash, R.L. Stein's Haunting House, Iron Man Armored Adventures. I mean, this is going back years down to 2016 or 2006. Vox, this guy has more IMDb, has like basically 5 times the IMDb credits as the 2 writers on Lord of the Rings combined.
I think we can simplify it to this: either A, they sold a pitch to the execs at Amazon like none other, that not you or I or anyone else here would have ever been able to do. Or there's going to be a big scandal that you're going to find out about in 3 to 4 years. That's going to make some better news than even this is doing right now.
I don't know, but like I said, I mean, in this case here, if this ends up being a flop, and you know what, it probably, I would lay odds that it's probably going to be. Are they going to blame the fans for it?
Yes. But because right now this is starting to shape up like Ghostbusters 2016 in the sense that it's like, oh, it's a whole different take on the series. Oh, you don't like that we changed these characters to make them more diverse? You're not a true fan.
Right.
But see, here's what I think Hollywood is missing right now. They yell at the fans for a lot of this stuff. They yelled at it for Doctor Who. They yelled at it for the fans
because it's either that or their career. So you don't blame me, blame the fans. Keep giving me movies.
But here's the thing: they're blaming the fans, but forgetting the fact that the fans, at the end of the day, are paying customers.
Yeah,
you're yelling when you break it down. You're yelling at your customer base for not liking your product.
Yes. And that's the thing I don't think a lot of people get in the media industry these days is when someone complains, they just complain about the people like, oh, you can't satisfy these people. You can't do this and do that. It's like, you're still, if you want to make money and you want to get a satisfying product, you still got to satisfy them.
Put out something good.
Yeah.
I know you satisfy stuff out there. Right? Anyway.
But like I said, that's a growing concern that I've got, that a lot of these people, I just looked up the latest, the Law and Order. The original Law and Order is rebooting. It has the first episode on Tuesday. Now, I only, based on, the episode hasn't aired yet, and I understand this is the same problem that may exist with Lord of the Rings. But it was written by one guy with like a couple of credits. So I don't know if it's the same thing, or Dick Wolf himself specifically wrote it because his name is attached to it. That I would trust. But my hope for Law and Order, especially for the fans of the original series, is that they brought back some of the old writers, or brought back people that wrote for Dick Wolf previously, SVU, FBI, any one of the things like that. Bring those people back in and say, this is how we're going to do it.
Not only that, but they're bringing back characters that can help drive the show just from actor popularity. They're bringing back Anthony Anderson. They're bringing back Sam Waterston. So yes, I'm getting some Sam Waterston.
So this
I was surprised. I didn't think he was going to come back.
I think certain franchises need a rest after a while. Law and Order's been going on for like 30 years. Maybe that and the Simpsons need to take a break.
This was shot in New York last year, or
it's going on right now. I got a contact for Friday, Monday on it, but I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, they probably would have started in the winter.
What's the name? What's the name of it?
It's the original Law and Order being rebooted at season 21.
Okay. I think I've actually may have seen something in my breakdowns for that.
You're probably getting stuff on that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know Law and Order was off the air because of all the other spin-offs.
Well, because SVU
still on the air.
Carried the torch for that one. The original one ended a few years ago because at that point, SVU was just doing better. Criminal Intent was actually pretty decent in itself. And then there was the spinoff that was going to have Jerry Orbach. Unfortunately, he passed.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Law and Order, just as a franchise alone, think about how many channels on cable television show reruns of that 5, 6, 7 times a day. Just to fill up.
On WeTV, BBC. I know, because I can guarantee right now upstairs it's on. I will lay money. I can go upstairs right now and bet you all $20 each. Law and Order's on TV right now.
It's going to be like The Simpsons, where you can probably do like a full show, marathon one day, and it'll probably take 3 months.
Boy,
There's
I
a
wonder
website
what
for
the
that.
residuals are on that
I'll
one.
tell you how long it takes to binge watch something.
Well, at least no one's getting a severance check. We know that.
Oh, yes. Oh, hey, nice segue there.
Oh.
Hey, that's why you bring me on.
Listen, you are good with that. I'll give you that. So, yeah, with the last 15 minutes, and not that I haven't monopolized the conversation enough today, let me talk about my own experiences on something. Because,
An actual tale from the film set, yes.
An actual tale. Unfortunately, I've talked so damn friggin' much today. Now that I've lost my voice, you guys are bored. Now I got to keep talking.
You know what you did.
I'm not bored.
Oh, good. All right. Well, good. Can't speak for the two of them up top, but
I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Go ahead. Entertain me. Come on.
Basically,
Entertain.
the Apple TV series Severance has released its first 2 episodes. It has actually been released to critical acclaim, and all things considered, and I mean this 100%, it might have been one of the best experiences of any project that I have ever worked. Even though Ben Stiller ripped my shit because I had my cell phone out and looking something up when I was actually supposed to be working. It was something I should not have done. He was 100% right. And
you'll mess with a man's passion project.
It might have been a passion project in some ways. He, by my understanding, if I remember right, he did 5 episodes of it, and then someone else, a woman, I can't remember her name, did the 3 middle ones. So sort of like James Gunn did like the beginning and the end of Peacemaker, and someone else did the middle. Same thing with Severance. I hosted a small AMA on the subreddit the other day, and one of the questions that I came back is, did you have a hard time seeing Adam Scott in a lead role in a thriller? And I said, by God, yes. Because to me, he will always be Ben Wyatt of Cones of Dunshire of Parks and Recreation. And I had a damn hard time looking at that long-haired guy and thinking, that's Ben Wyatt. That's the guy who couldn't understand basically, Little Sebastian from Parks and Rec. He couldn't get Little Sebastian.
Well, now, just for the uneducated of us here, what exactly is Severance about? Because it's Apple Plus. Now, Apple Plus shows don't exactly get the biggest amount of promotion. So it's either you hear about the show or you don't. We don't even know if it's good or bad. So what exactly
you own
are
Apple
looking?
TV? Never.
Exactly. This isn't like Ted Lasso, for example, which obviously has a bunch of stuff. So here's the official IMDb breakdown. When a mysterious colleague appears outside of work, it begins a journey to discover the truth about their job. Mark leads a team of office workers whose memories have been surgically divided between their work and their personal lives.
Sounds dramatic.
I saw the trailer. I think the easiest way to break it down is the fact that when these people go to work, their outside lives the memories to their outside lives are just shut down. Yep. And then once they leave work, all their memories of work are shut down and they just go about their lives.
Nice.
And then what turns out is someone who had left one day from their job found something out, and that's kind of what I think drives the story. And then the rest of it's a big mystery.
Yes. I do know already how it ends. No, you cannot legally ask me because I like not getting sued by multi-billion-dollar corporations.
But bring out the torture rack.
Dude, I'm going to say this, though. One of the things that I was introduced to on that production is, and then we did this for most of the days that I was there, was a glorious thing called French hours. In France and a lot of film productions, what they do is you bring your own lunch. It's a BYOL. And they skip lunch, but they are done after like 10 or 11 hours. The days that I was there, they gave you breakfast. They gave you, the craft table and like small snacks and whatnot. But after 10 hours guaranteed, goodbye, get out. And if you ever work film productions, you know that you have days that can go 12, 13, 15, 16 hours on the clock, not counting the stuff you have to do and finish up afterwards, and sometimes have a 10-hour turnaround. So you could have a day that ends at 10 o'clock at night, unpack, get everything done, go home, and have to be back at sometimes as early as 8 o'clock the next morning. But in your case, you got to be back at 6. So these guys get no turnaround whatsoever. This one gave a mandatory 10-hour day every single time that I was there. So if you were there at, say, 6 a.m., you knew, by God, by 4 p.m., you're out the door. Goodbye.
I love
they landed right on the spot. Like, okay, goodbye. And it was such a cool experience to me to know that I didn't have to deal with the whole, is it going to be 14 hours, 15 hours? You knew what your end game was. And this may surprise a lot of 9-to-5ers. In the film industry, you don't have that. So you guys know at 5 o'clock ish, give or take, at a 9-to-5 job, what time you're going to leave. We don't have that. So to have that was a great, refreshing thing.
I don't know if you were involved in that, Jonna and Johnny, but we were like, my call time was like 10 in the morning. We didn't actually get out until like 7 the next morning.
What project was that?
This was Anjana and Johnny. We did like 3 scenes in one night. It was brutal.
I don't remember that one.
That was back in, yeah, it was an Indian project. That was back in like 2012, 2013, something like that.
I remember a crap project in Pennsylvania. I got paid like $60 cash for a day like that. But no, this was Apple TV money. And like I said, Ben Stiller, Patricia Arquette, I think, was in there too.
Which is kind of funny now that you mention what the description of the show is, because considering it's Ben Stiller, this almost has like certain shades of like the Secret Life of Walter Mitty that he did. You know, just shades of it. But I'm wondering if that's it is a passion project of his working from that.
But yeah, in my case, basically, I was Michael Chernus' stand-in, who plays the brother-in-law. You may remember that guy if you remember him from Men in Black 3. He was the long-haired dude that gave Will Smith the time travel device. He was also Piper's brother in Orange is the New Black. He did some stuff on Elementary. It's where I met him the first time, way back in like 2014-ish. But cool dude. At the time,
we'll have to get him for an interview.
What's that?
We'll have to get him for an interview.
I actually reached out to him on that. He didn't respond. So, we follow each other on Twitter though, so I got that going for me at least.
Well, he was probably in his work area, so he probably forgot all about you. And when he comes back to his personal, then he'll remember.
This was like 3 days ago. He followed me like 3 days ago. I sent him a message and never heard back.
Wow.
I was trying to soften the blow. I was trying.
Yeah, it's okay. Dude, it's all right. Listen, the answer is always no till you try, so that's why I'm okay with it. But listen, I'm like I said, at best, I'm a Z-list celebrity in my heyday, you know. But he's got, like I said, this big honking series, and again, to their credit, I mean, it was a very smooth production. We had some cold ass days, you know, because this thing was shot in the winter sometimes, and that was tough. But
now I almost wonder if it had been any other production studio, if it had been any other channel other than Apple, do you think you would have gotten that?
What, the French hours?
Yeah. Because I feel like Apple is just like that kind of organization that they'll go ahead and they'll do things like that just because they're a little bit more lax on certain things.
Yes. I'm gonna toe my line right here a little bit, but I've been tied to a series called Brightside on Apple TV. That's the alias name. They are pretty flexible. Again, it's one of those things where they have 10, 11, 12-hour days, so it's not really bad. A lot of it in studio. And they ended up actually giving an extra day off because yesterday was President's Day. It was a production day off. They gave them off Friday, too, for a 4-day weekend. They're just like, yeah, we got it. We'll do it on the back end.
Nice.
You know, I mean, it's going to stretch out and pad out the amount of time that they're going to have to shoot everything. But yeah, I was talking to a crew person. It's like, I just found out we're off Friday, you know, so we had a 4-day weekend coming up. I had no idea. And she was so excited by it.
Nice.
All right.
That
so
one,
that's
that
good to know.
one
If I see anything from an Apple Plus production,
that one is going to be worth checking out. Holy shit. So
the one time you want to be in, well, no, I was going to say the one time you want to be an Apple employee, but usually Apple employees seem to be treated fairly well. At least from what I hear.
But
I could be wrong.
So
I will hear back if I'm wrong. I'll
So
probably also other things I've said on this show. Anyway, I keep interrupting Scott.
No, it's okay. I want to point out we hit all our topics tonight. We didn't jump off. We hit all the 3 topics that we had. We added a couple.
And with about 5 minutes to spare.
Dude, in fact, which opens up the thing I was going to mention to you guys in this case. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, promote, you know, complain about, you know, whatever?
Well, I do think we should be promoting what's going to happen for the next couple of weeks if we are still going ahead with that.
On Thursday. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, not necessarily Thursday. It's all dependent, but we have been toying around with the idea that since the Oscars will be coming up late in March, and we have about a good month where we don't have any new television series weekly coming out, that we might go ahead and do some watch-alongs for the Oscar-nominated films of 2022. And of course, that's going to be a whole slew of different things that would be available on all streaming networks, whether it be HBO Max, Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime. Don't think that just because we're working solely with like one network or the other lately, whether it was Peacemaker on HBO or Boba Fett on Disney Plus, that we aren't going to have something for everybody. So I do think that this is a nice little idea just to help spread the wealth, as it was, really give it a little bit of time to all the streaming networks and all the different outlets that we can actually go ahead and watch these things on.
Yeah. But yeah, so that'll be Thursday. Well, like I said, we got a lot of stuff coming up on Thursday, and I'm just going to throw it all out there just for the fun of it. So yeah, like I said, we're going to continue with the live stream on Thursdays, finishing up Peacemaker. Thank you to you guys. You convinced me to do that because I might not have actually seen Peacemaker if it wasn't for your nudging, and by God, I'm glad you guys nudged.
Hey, if it's got something to do with a wrestler, we call it.
Sure. And respect to John Cena. His acting range is a lot more impressive than I think a lot of people were expecting out of that.
No, he just got Sky Too Hottie in that, comedy drama that I've always been imagining.
What?
I was going to go with a Scotty Doesn't Know reference here because that movie just came out, or anniversary of that movie came out the other day.
No one else here is a big enough wrestling fan for me to go off on Ryan like I should right now.
Yeah.
We could save that one for Thursday, but actually no, maybe not. But Thursday at 2:30 in the afternoon, we have Brian Scalaro coming on. You may remember a TV series with Pamela Anderson, who's now back and popular again because of a certain docuseries that came out. But she had a TV show called Stacked alongside Christopher Lloyd. So we'll be talking to him about 2:30. And then at 9 p.m., busy little Thursday that we've got, we got Miguel Figueroa, who not only is from experience as the MMA trainer for Sonya Deville from WWE, but also has a YouTube channel with 150,000 subscribers promoting pop culture and autism awareness. So Miguel, actually, you may remember him from the Sports Den because we've had him on a couple of times. So he's going to be back on at 9 o'clock to basically talk about everything he's got going on. And honestly, he's just a really chill dude. Really like that guy.
Nice.
So that's our Thursday. Busy little Thursday.
So we got a couple of interviews. We got a slate of things coming down the pipe in the rest of February and March. And of course, if there is any movie or television show that's out right now or that will be coming up and you want us to go ahead and watch along with you, do let us know. Comment, whether it be Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Let us know what your interests are, and we'll see if it matches up with ours.
And beyond our commentary on different film and TV shows out there, remember, we're filmmakers as well. So if there's anything you want us to talk about filmmaking-wise, ask us questions about our experience or whatever, throw it out there. Maybe we'll do an episode about that as well.
Probably good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we all have our own particular expertise. Certainly JT is our guy behind the scenes. So anything technical aspect, definitely reach him before anybody else. Certainly Robert and Scott are more active workers right now in the field. So if you have anything, questions going on about what's going on right now, especially in the New York, New Jersey area, those are the guys to talk to.
And there's Scott, who if you want to find out what's going to be on this season of Severance, just bug him.
Yeah.
And if you just want to talk nonsense, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm the hyper one of the group here. I'm sorry in advance. So
not a worry, sure.
So wow, this is the first time we have a minute left, and I think we're all out. I think we're gassed out, guys.
All right. How about this? Basically, how many fingers am I holding up underneath the table?
2.
I'm not trying to think about what's up underneath your table.
Actually, it was 6.
Nice. Nice.
We're going to end the show on that note. So, all right. Thank you as always to you guys. Thank you, Mr. Robert Leckington. Thank you, Mr. JT McGuire. Thank you, Mr. Ryan O'Regan. As for me, I'm Scott Schertzen. One more time for a little self-promotion. Tales from the Film Set on Twitch, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook, and on Twitter at Film Set Tales. So for myself and the other 3 who are far better and far more personable and basically better looking than I'll ever hope to be, I'm Scott Schertzen. This is Tales from the Film Set. Have a great night. Stay awesome.
He had 6 under the table.